Hello, everybody.
Hello, Florian and Crystal here. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday, and back for another Enneagram chat. And we are going to talk about the head types.
And we're talking about relationships.
Relationships.
For the big head type.
He's one, not me.
I've got a big head.
And you are a head type, yes. So relationships and thinking types or head types in the Enneagram. That's what we're going to talk about today. So the head types being types 5, 6, and 7, and how they are in relationship, what you need to know about them.
Well, I'm excited to hear more and learn more. I'm myself a type 7.
You are.
My sister is a type 6.
That's right.
Victoria. Type 5, not in my family at least.
Not in your family. Nope. But hey Cheryl, thanks for joining us. Type 5, I definitely have had a few clients type 5. I think we know some type 5s personally.
Yep,
so we can relate to all of them. And so for anybody that joins, like Cheryl just popped on, we're talking about relationships and Enneagram types, the thinking types today. We did the heart types yesterday. So if you have any questions as we're going along or any comments, we really love to make this interactive. So feel free to just drop your notes in. Let us know that you're hearing us. And what you think. Maybe
share your own type or share if you're in a relationship, for instance, with a 5, 6, or 7.
Yeah.
And we can address that directly.
Definitely. And for people that don't know their types, the link we actually provide in the little description of this video will take you to our Enneagram group on Facebook. And within that group, you can click another link that will take you to the assessment if you don't already know your type. So that's available for everybody there.
Excellent. Well, let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So let's start with type 5. We'll go in order. Type 5 is the investigator or the observer. And so this type in relationship definitely has a strong need for their space. And the person they're with really can value that they have a certain amount of energy, and they want to be protective over that energy and decide how they're going to spend it. So the type 5 loves to investigate and observe. They like to kind of hang back and see what's happening and get the big picture. And then they love to explore things on a deeper level. So they may want to grab a book and read all about the topic in depth. And they want the space and the time to do that. Or to find a new like kind of esoteric topic that they're really interested in that they just have to learn all about. So in relationship, they need to be given the room and the space to explore, to observe, to think about things. And they oftentimes have a sense of privacy too, where they want to have like, this is my room, these are my things, or a sense of time and space, like I need a certain amount of me time. So if you're in a relationship with a 5 and you can grant them that, that can be really, really soothing and helpful.
So if I'm in a relationship with a 5, what can I do to make them happy?
To make them happy.
How can I support them?
Yeah, you can support them by engaging with them on the things they are finding interesting at the moment, because their mind is like a sponge that never gets enough water. Like there's so many interesting things to learn. They're very creative, expansive mind. So if you can engage with them there and say, hey, like, what are you interested in right now? And let them just be quirky and weird and tell you all the things that they're interested in. They love that back and forth engagement. I think another thing that makes them happy is letting them have their free time, their me time, and not making them feel guilty about it. Like actually, promoting that with them and saying, hey, have fun with that. And another thing that makes them really happy is, paying attention to their sense of humor. It's usually very quirky and fun. And so if you can like riff on things with them, that's really enjoyable.
I think it's really helpful to know that they need that space. So like I don't have to feel bad if I'm in a relationship with them to give them the space and I'm not like taking care of them.
Yeah.
Like I'm actually doing something good for them.
Yeah.
That's great. Wonderful. So if anybody is a 5 and in a relationship or is out there dating a 5 or is married to a 5 or maybe has a parent who is a 5, let us know and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yep.
All right.
Cool. I think a lot of questions come up about 5 because they do want that space, and sometimes they may be married to somebody who doesn't want space. They want to be together all the time, and it can feel like, oh, why are they pushing me away? So, a lot of questions can come up with people in relationship with 5. So
Yeah.
we're here to answer those. Let us know.
All right.
Next would be type 6, right? So type 6 is called the loyalist or the loyal skeptic. And I always think about this type as sort of like a scout, like a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout, and that they're always really prepared. So they tend to have a natural ability to foresee any potential danger or potential things that could go wrong. And they plan ahead for those things to say, okay, let's make a plan. We need A, B, C in order, and then we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and you do this and you do that, and they can just see it like the Matrix. They know all the things that they think should happen in order to keep things safe and make sure they go the right way. It's kind of future oriented. And then they also love loyalty. So in a relationship, loyalty, it is key. Now they're naturally going to be a bit skeptical, like saying, hey, can I really trust you? Are you really the person you say you are? But if you could show up and really uphold what it is that you say you're here to present in the relationship, you can create an extremely strong bond with the type 6. And they are just such loyal, giving, altruistic partners and friends and coworkers that will go the extra mile if that loyalty is formed.
I can absolutely relate to this with my sister, Victoria. Shout out to her.
Hey, Victoria!
She is a scout,
Yeah,
Girl Scout
she
in
is.
this game, in this case, and she's certainly the one who likes to step up and lead and have a plan. Always everything is prepared for sure, and she's also very loyal. She loves that, like family systems and friends and taking care of each other. That loyalty is very strong in her for sure.
So adorable. I'll say another thing about being in a relationship with a 6 is that if you do break their loyalty, you're going to have to work very, very hard to earn it back. So just know that, like, be careful with whatever you promise. Anything you say, I can do this for you, or I can do that, make sure you can follow through with that, because they would, and they expect the same thing from you.
Right.
So keep that in mind, type 6.
Now, I do have to ask you the same question again.
What makes them happy?
How me, as if I'm in a relationship with a 6, how can I support them and make them happy? Shall I start making plans for them?
Well, the thing with that, so 6s tend to be rather anxious and worried. So I have multiple things I could say about this, because it's natural to want to soothe their anxiety. Say, oh, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. But oftentimes that sort of undermines what really needs to be done to help with anxiety, which is to face the fear, to not always have a plan, to say, you know what, look, we're not going to plan at all. Let's just practice throwing ourselves into the moment and seeing what happens, and building your resilience to deal with the situation as it occurs, rather than having to always have a plan. And if they know they have a partner that they can have that loyalty and trust with, that they can then bound into the unknown of the future and drop this like obsessive planning and worrying, and develop that trust in themselves in the moment, that can really be growthful. It'll be painful at first, but very growthful to a type 6. It'll suck at first, but it's worth it for the freedom you get in the end.
Isn't that how growth works?
True. Yeah.
Well, we do have a number of more people joining us right now. So to you guys as well, Bart, Victoria, Cheryl, feel free to, if you know your type, make sure you drop it in a comment box. If you happen to date a 5, a 6, or a 7, let us know if you have questions. If you don't know your type, make sure you join our Enneagram Facebook group, and you can take the assessment there. Yeah, and also if you're not even sure, like let's say you're listening to us and you're like, oh my God, my husband totally sounds like that. Just drop us a note. Like, we love to have the conversation going back and forth. Sometimes just talking at our computer can be a little bit daunting. So anything you want to say, even if it's just a shout out like, hey, Crystal, we love to hear from you. This is a community after all. So please do feel free to engage. All right. Next for 7. With that, number 7, last one for today. Special number 7, last one for today. We have an example right here, a very beautiful version. Thank you. All right. What shall we talk about the 7? Well, type 7 is called the epicure, right? Or the enthusiast, or the optimist. A lot of different names for the type 7. But it's a very upbeat, optimistic type that is also very future-oriented, that wants to keep the options open and make sure that they're not ever being backed into a corner and limited on what they can do. So loves variety, loves to try the next new thing. Oftentimes they're starting so many new things
that they have trouble finishing the other things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, in relationship with type 7s, they love being with other people who like to get things moving and that like to bring variety and play into their life. They like to be around other upbeat people who are zestful for life and lustful and want to just enjoy life. And I think that 7s like being in the moment too, of just like the momentary pleasures, like a nice meal or a sunset or laying in the sun. 7s tend to be good at like engaging in that and feeling the moment and just enjoying it for what it is.
Yeah, for sure. I love that stimulation. I love variety. I love experiences.
Right.
I love that in the work as well as in relationships. That's why you keeping me so entertained every day, every hour. I get all the variety there is.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. But then there are sides to myself that as a 7 I get to explore that are maybe a little further away and that are more painful but necessary to grow through. And I would say for me, and this is part of relationships, is to face some of these negative things that come up and maybe a fight or sadness about something.
Right.
And that's something where me as a 7, I would probably sort of stray away from, and instead of going towards it and questioning it and being with it in the moment, I don't really do that, at least by default.
Exactly.
So I assume other 7s may experience similarly.
Right. I mean, that's a very classic 7 trait. 7s want to focus on the good things. That's why they're called like the optimist or the epicure. They're like, oh, I'll just look at the good shiny things, and all that stuff over there that's not so good, or the fight that I need to have, or the confrontation, or the work that I don't want to do, I'm going to ignore that. Yeah. So for 7s to grow, they need to be in a relationship with others where they can be, they're kind of pushed in a way to face all the colors of the rainbow, the light and the dark. And they say all of it needs to be addressed. And also to learn how to see things through to the end, to not just do it because it's fun and because it feels good, but to stick with it to the end because of the integrity, because they know that it's the right thing to do. I also want to just give a shout out. We have a few more people that just popped on. We have Joey. So good to have you on here. And then we have Anne and we have Miguel. So I love having you all join us. Feel free to drop us notes if you have any questions, if you can relate to what we're saying, or even just say hi, like good to see you. We'd love to hear from you.
Wonderful. So one thing I wanted to touch on before we wrap this up today.
Yeah.
So these head types, one of the challenges I think they all have has to do sort of with anxiety, right? And I just want to bring it up because that's something, I can definitely feel myself get anxious in situations at an airport when we're starting to miss our flights, and all of that just gets me rattled, and then I sort of get more anxious.
Right.
And so I wonder if you have any suggestions for people that are, especially when you're in relationship with a 5, a 6, a 7, when they maybe feel that anxiety, like what do you do? Do you point it out? Do you tell them, don't do this stupid thing? Like what is it? How?
Well, I'll say this too. Anxiety is just huge overall for all types, even if we're not thinking types. Just culturally speaking, anxiety is tremendous right now. And like when I'm in my therapeutic practice, we see a lot of that as therapists, a lot of people coming up with anxiety issues. So when it comes to anxiety, anything we do to avoid it or to kind of numb ourselves from it or to run from it actually makes it worse.
Yeah, no.
Because you're telling yourself that you can't handle it. Oh, I can't handle it. I must need to run from it. So we get weaker and weaker and more anxious. So in relationship, if you're with somebody who tends to be a very anxious type, while it's great to try and make them feel better in the moment and help them avoid the anxiety, in the long run, it's not going to help. And instead, we need to help encourage them to face the fear. If it's like, okay, we're going to be late for the airport. We might miss our flight. Oh my God, we're so anxious. Well, from being with me, I'm like, who gives a fuck? We'll miss the flight. We'll get another flight. Oh, well. And that's kind of what you need to do is face it. Like, what's the worst case scenario? You'll lose some money. You'll be really late. It'll be really annoying. People might be angry, but you can deal with it. And so for all the different anxious types, it's really about stepping into their power, facing whatever they're afraid of instead of running from it. And, if they need help from others, bring that in. If they need other tools, learn the tools, but just face it. Don't run from the anxiety.
Well, on that note,
Mhm.
you helped me show that, because the only 2 flights I have ever missed in my life were flights with you, and we still made it, and
We still
we're
got
still
there.
here. We're still
Uh-huh.
here. So
Doesn't
I
matter.
guess my anxiety wasn't helping after all.
And I think another thing on type 7 I wanted to mention is, so many 7s aren't aware that they're anxious because they tend to be so positive and buoyant. They might just say, I'm not anxious, I'm just excited. But
course.
deep down, there is an anxiety they're running from. So that might be why they don't finish a project, or why they break off a relationship very quickly. Like, that's why they don't stick with certain things, because there's an underlying anxiety there they want to move away from. So again, if we can just face whatever that feeling is, whether it's anxiousness or sadness or anger, and just own it and be with it and learn how to experience it, then life can become a much more rich and fulfilling place.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, this was very helpful for myself too, and I feel like for, just knowing other 6s and 5s and other 7s, just to be able to understand them a little better. I mean, you're not a 7, and you don't understand the anxiety that I'm feeling. So just knowing that and being able to talk about it is helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Good.
Well, I hope this brought a little bit more perspective and compassion to you guys in your relationship with thinking types, or for yourself if you're a thinking type. And next we will be talking about relationships with the body types. So that would be 8, 9, and 1. We'll do that later on this week, and I hope to see you guys there.
Wonderful. And in the meanwhile, if you have any more questions that come up, drop them in the comments below, and we will make sure we address those questions.
That's right.
Yeah, all right.
Awesome, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Is that right? Wednesday evening?
Your evening.
Yeah, your evening, wherever that is. Adios.